Right.
My journey unfortunately started with the tragedy of losing my best friend to gun violence.
Literacy is a disease, right? It ain't getting better. So why pull him down?
You are my vent person. You are my strategy person. You are my big idea person.
Okay.
You are my spiritual person.
If I didn't have her, I would have been divorced year one.
All he had was my mother. He was divorced. He ain't had no wife come check on him. I know if I was in a bad car accident right now, my wife would get up out that bed with, even though she ain't feeling well, she'd be like, make sure Mark's good.
I think men fail in this world because they lack the communication skills to articulate their inner dialogue.
She said, son, if you can't save one child, you selfish.
Instead of us congratulating somebody on their success, we get mad or we feel like I ain't made it yet.
Well, let me tell you something. This is another episode that I'm really proud of. When I thought about men who I can bring together to make an impact on manhood, these four guys, man, came to my rescue and said, hey, Charles, for you, we will do it. My boy, Marcus Manise, I got my boy, Aaron McGee, my boy, Ashford Hughes Sr., because I have to say senior because now there's a junior. And then, of course, my boy, Demetrius Short, Mr. Don't Fall Short is in the house. So what I want you to understand is this. The reason why I brought My Manhood Matter all together is the fact that, remember, I had a group of different discussions with brothers all across the community, and they was kind of struggling with the same thing. They were self-esteem issues. They found themselves being demasculated by women who they were dating. And to a point, it really hit their self-worth hard. Then COVID hit, and then now we had to deal with this mental illness. And I had to reiterate the importance of knowing your self-worth, knowing who you are as a man, and what God has called you to do and to be. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about all things man, all things manhood, whether it's fatherhood, wealth, finance, relationships. Because what we want to do is get the brothers to continue to talk. Because one thing you have to know is this: God just don't want us as men to be healed. He wants us to be made whole. And what does that look like in this generation? So brothers, welcome to the round table.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was a lot I had to plug in, but wait.
You did
You
it.
got it done.
I got it done.
You
Okay,
did
here we
good.
go.
Did
So the
good.
first question is, and we can go around the room with this, is that when you think about manhood today, and you see the effects because of the society is affecting our manhood, how can we how do we to continue to change the trajectory with manhood? How can we make it more positive instead of the negative? Because everybody's not a dope dealer, everybody's not a pimp, everybody's not a hoe. How can we make this more a positive influence on our younger generation when you think about manhood today?
And for me, it's applauding the success that men go through, the version that they've overcome, really being a sounding board to really applaud just how far individuals go. Sometimes we're humble. Oh, I don't need to be applauded, or oh, I'm just doing my thing, man. But really, to say mentors and coaches and stepfathers who are stepping in for absentee fathers and taking kids in, that needs to be applauded.
Yeah.
And I think if we create that narrative that the work that we're doing is worth us saying, man, good job, brother, and not shade it off like, oh, this is what I'm doing. No, it's not what you're doing. That's an amazing thing that needs to be highlighted, applauded. And when people see that's happening, I think it'll inspire more men to step up and do what they're doing, but also it'll encourage the men that are doing things that you said. Not everybody's a deadbeat. You know, I get offended sometimes with all men. Don't you dare, don't say all
You better
men.
not.
Do not put me in that category. You know, it's just easy to say all men are deadbeats or whatever. That's not true. But what we can do is applaud men who are just at the table. They're doing the best they can do, and reward them for just the simple things of giving back to their community, praising, being vulnerable when they need to be vulnerable,
Right.
apologizing when they need to apologize. But us as men, having a day where we can pat our chest up in the chest and say, man, ask for Aaron, Marcus, man, you guys are doing a good job. 'Cause I know what Marcus is. He's not a man of, you know, I just want to get the job done. But man, I'm like, nah, bro, you're doing a daggone good job. You're doing a daggone good
So
job.
do you think
man.
it's a
Good
lack
job.
of us encouraging one another as men?
Man, I think it gets back to, I'm a believer in the consciousness of men, and I think it's a process. You don't just become a man out of the blue. It is a lifelong journey, but we as community leaders have to get back to it being purposeful about how we take our young people on that intentional journey from maleness to manhood. And I always start back because I love working with young people, that rites of passage.
Right.
And the rites of passage is not just what mentor leaders do, it's engaging the family in the process. It's engaging the community in the process of taking a young person, particularly young males, on this journey and trajectory. To date, unfortunately, there are times where we've allowed society to dictate the journey that our kids go on. We've turned over the responsibility of the rites of passage to social media, to technology, and we have to get back as men of identifying we are the elders within our community.
Right.
We have to take these young people on this journey together.
So are you saying, Ashley, do we negate the fact of us that our fathers still have that little boy in us that need healing as well? That's why we can't be full fathers, because there's something going on in me.
And there's a lot of that goes on, right? A lot of us, even myself today, I was having a conversation with Brother Marcus. You know, I'm 45 years old. I didn't grow up with a father in the house, and me and my father to this day are still working through our journey as me as an adult with two small boys, and what that means for us not having that strong of a relationship, and how I try to switch that from not having that strong relationship with my father, how I ensure that I'm intentional about the love, the hugging, the nurturing that I do with my sons, because I didn't have that.
Were you angry with your daddy?
There was a point in time I was damn angry.
Okay.
Yes, I was angry to the point where it was like, man, my uncles are showing up to my games. My mother is my number one scout in the stands. And I was like, damn, I didn't have a father there to root me on along the way, to show me the way. So I turned to, like a lot of kids today, I've turned to the streets.
Right.
I did the things that was destructive to my personality, my ideology. But like the book says, when I became a man, I put away my childish things.
Yeah.
And I had to take a journey, but that journey started with the knowledge of self.
Right.
My journey, unfortunately, started with the tragedy of losing my best friend to gun violence. But along that journey, I changed my major at Tennessee State from business marketing, again, to political science and Africana studies. And Africana studies and the knowledge of self gave me a lens by which to see something different, a lens by which to say, man, I owe myself more than what I'm giving myself. I owe my community more than what I'm giving myself. So I have to be intentional about now how I show up.
That's a good point. So, Marcus, how do we show up?
I think, when I was listening to Ashley and Demetrius, I think the biggest thing for men is that if you've made it, and I think that you could begin breaking the fatherless cycle. If you've made it and been successful and God has blessed you, we all can reach one. I'm not saying you got to give him a whole bunch of stuff,
Right.
but why not pick up the phone and say, man, how you doing? If you know, what if Ashford had that one person that called every week to see how he was doing?
Right.
Your mom good, everybody good, and did it in a respectful way. He will remember that. And he could say, you know what, I'm going to do the same thing. Just reach one.
Right.
We all African-American men, there's so many successful ones out here that I've seen. But how many out here just trying to save one kid?
Save one kid. Not the world, just
Not the world. But if we all just save one, it wouldn't be no need for me doing what I'm doing. It wouldn't be need for Demetrius or what Ashley's doing. But some of us sometimes we've made it, it's about me. And I want to be that person, just even take care of me. Just me. So when we look at one of the major issues is that fatherless issues is never going to stop.
That's true.
People going to continue to have kids. You're going to have irresponsible men, and you're going to have irresponsible women. It's never going to stop. So what we have to do is find a way just to reach them where they're at and save one. And Phil will get, I think every man will feel good with himself. Say, you know what, I helped this one. And if you help one and live your own personal life, I think God will be pleased with that. Because that one man could say, you know what, I'm going to help this guy. I'm going to help this guy. And then once you see the cycle starts moving, man, everybody start going out. But I think for us, we got to stop being selfish. We all want to make careers, move up the ladder, be here and be there. I think that's cool. But each one of us, I feel like God has brought us on this earth to serve, to help somebody have a shot at a better life. So when I looked at my life, because I wanted to be that person, my mom told me this one thing, and I'll be quiet. She said, God has blessed you with two great parents. and you have a wealth of knowledge. She said, son, if you can't save one child, you selfish. And when she said that, I never questioned her again.
That's amazing. But the thing I admire about you all is that it reminds me when I used to work with the youth, not only you taking care of your own children, but you mentoring other people's kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge applaud, a huge undertaking. But because you all do so much, why is self-care so important, Aaron? As a man.
Oh, you know, now I am a practitioner of self-care, brother. I believe in
Ask the
self-care.
workout guru.
Hey, I believe, but you know, self-care is more than just working out.
That's
You know,
true.
it's a state of mind. It is a mindset. I believe in self-care because, you know, it is about, you have to preserve self in order to be of service. You know, I've mentored youth in my career across the spectrum. And it's been fun and I've enjoyed it. It's been purposeful. So it's been life-giving. But, you know, in order to go out there and charge up someone else's battery, you got to make sure your own battery is charged up. And so that's the essence of self-care. And for men, there's a spectrum of self-care.
Right.
And I think self-care, you have to, in manhood, you definitely have to distinguish self-care from coping mechanisms.
Talk about that.
You know, coping mechanisms. This men got coping mechanisms. You know, we self-soothe. You know, there's an unhealthy way to self-soothe,
Yeah, you
like
said.
like through pornography,
Okay,
through
yeah, you
weed,
said.
through you know, going and laying in
Vices.
multiple vices. You know, what you call it, the isms and the schisms and all that stuff. Yeah, right. But you know, they're healthy. There are healthy ways to self-care. You know, I choose to express that manly energy through physical fitness. You know, I skate, I move the body. I move the body at home with my family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My children see me cooking and dancing in the kitchen and singing and hooping and hollering with them as well. So self-care is essential, particularly for men who are on purpose to serve others. So I think a man who is not taking care of himself has no right to take care of others, because to neglect yourself, what exactly are you sharing with others? And so some men may look at it as a badge of honor, like, I'm gonna die on that sword. I won't be down on that sword. I'm gonna go and get my feet rubbed first.
Right.
Yeah, I may need my scalp massaged, and then I'm gonna come out in good cheer.
Right.
God loves a cheerful giver,
Right.
and service is given.
Right.
So self-care is essential.
I think for over the years, I think for so long, we have been so caught up into service and not realize we need some self-service. And I think what God is doing now, He's shifting us back to that space. You can't be a father or a husband or entrepreneur, whatever, if you don't really tap into, like you was talking about earlier, Ashford, like you don't sit in a quiet space, be quiet, chill for a minute, breathe a little bit, and that's woosah in so many words, right? So at this point in your lives, what's the age group? What's old are you, Marcus?
48.
I'm 38.
45.
I'm 51 in 2 days.
51 in 2 days. What life lessons would you give a young brother?
That's a very great question. One of the biggest life lessons I would give a young brother is to thine own self be true. Most men know the way. It just takes courage to go the way. And
Because of fear?
oh, absolutely. You know, we've lived long enough to have, you know, if you make it to 18, you've had enough drama and trauma in your life that will impact you for a lifetime. I think I always tell young men, make sure you reflect. You know, when you're feeling down and out, take inventory of your wins, take inventory of your L's as well. But men have to study themselves.
So you do the leadership program, Demetrius. How do you teach them that?
He just nailed it. No, really. I mean, it's one of the most requested sessions that we do with the Pathway to Success Leadership Academy. Is a thing we just started post-COVID called Know You to Grow You. It's temperament assessment. There's Myers-Briggs, is all of this, but there's a God-given temperament.
How do we make it?
I say Peter's cutting and cussing, Thomas is doubting and unbelieving, right? You never saw Christ tell them to, you be a little bit more like Peter. He said, be like me. Because on the day of Pentecost, right, we needed a strong Peter. We didn't need no punk Thomas. Is it you, Lord?
Right.
I need more daggone time, Thomas.
Right.
Touch my toes, touch my ears. Peter, like, you know. So he took 12 men, they turned the world upside down, but they all had different strengths and weaknesses. So when we brought Dr. Tavia and Dr. Greg in, my biggest thing, if I can go back now and I tell men or anyone young, know you to grow you before you get to know somebody else and date somebody else, because you're going to inherit all their good and all they daggone bad. That woman's trauma is going to come in after the honeymoon. Why are you tripping? Why are you bugging? There's no level of counseling that can weed out all of that before you say I do. You'll be doing it for 20 years. But when you look at your God-given temperament, there's melancholy, there's sanguine, all those things. It hands you the playbook for yourself. And when I mean this thing is saving marriages, and is in my bag, I can have my daughter's temperament and I have my wife's temperament. It goes with me everywhere I go. It's in my bag. Because if I can play to their strength and know that there's a certain way you can say the same thing to get the best out of them based on how they're wired, it's not punking down and saying, I can't tell her that you're wrong, but it's how you present it, because God has given you the playbook for yourself first. And when you feel like you are nasty and you're bitter, it's not for you to say, see, that's how God made me. You got to deal with it. No, it's God saying you a nasty dude. You need to work on this. Your father hurt you. Don't bring that woman and them kids into this and drag them through and think that sex and love gonna make that happen. No, there's gonna be some realities. So when you know yourself, and I know I'm the life of the party. I come in, what's up? Big Meech is here.
Right.
My wife comes in, she sits, she assesses the room, and she watches. Because she's not outgoing to me. So early on, I'm like, oh, you just hating, you don't want to come here? But no. The compromise is I come, hey babe, we're gonna stay a couple hours.
Right.
Is that good? We found out, because she starts getting drained after a while, and now she's sitting
We
like
made to the
this,
precedent,
and
right.
it affects everybody else. So knowing that of her and knowing her temperament,
Right.
it's like going to a party. Oh, here. The best way to get a sanguine to do this is to, now I'm like, hey babe, we're gonna go to the Christmas party. Gonna get there at 8. How about we leave about 10:30? You beat her to it. And now she's like, I only have 2 hours to sit here because I'm panicking while he's having all this fun, kissing babies, hugging people, and I'm just in the room just dying. So when you know yourself and can work on those areas, the bad and the good, man, you're gonna become a great version of yourself before you can lead others. Other families, you get to know yourself.
Can I say something real
Yeah,
quick?
go ahead.
I just want to, I appreciate you for saying it. I also want to add this important context. For Black men especially, there is strength in vulnerability. And for us to take the next phase in manhood, and I keep talking about we're going into the year 2025, not just because of the political realm, but think about it now. Every generation you find yourself at a point in time like, okay, how will I show up in this generation? How will I show up 20 years from now with all that's going on in the world? How did I show up at that time? We all tend to think we would have been strong doing chattel enslavement, or we would have been strong doing the Jim Crow. But how do we know? So this is our time. But how do we as Black men show up to be vulnerable enough to identify knowledge of self, to take time to get to know ourselves, to get to know our brothers? Because we can't live in isolation and have the impact as men that we want to have. Think about how many times do you just hold a brother's hand and be okay with it, like, oh my God, why are we touching each other? As Black men, how often do we hug, touch each other, just give reverence to each other? And I think I try to teach young men there is strength in being vulnerable. It doesn't mean that you're weak or you're less than. When you get things off of you and you're able to experience that vulnerability of coming out of your shell, there is so much power. You release so much that the vibrations that begin to come around you will lift you up to greater heights. I really believe in vibration. I believe in energy fields. And we as Black men have to let go of the things that are bogging us up. And I keep going back to the touch and the feel of each other as Black men that we don't do. And that is why sometimes we view each other as competition, because we don't give each other the reverence that we deserve. We talk about faith and Christianity, and we give reverence to a Christ that was here millions of years ago or whatever, and we don't give the brother next to us the same level of reverence who's doing a lot for us, for our community. And I think we have to shift that in our young people so that they give each other reverence, where they value life, they value each other, they value community, And that spawns a different era of how we show up as black people, as black men in our society.
That's good. So how we create that though?
I can speak to that. My work has centered me as a youth development professional, and even most recently, I'm working on my doctorate at Tennessee State University. So I've been in that college atmosphere. I've been a campus advisor. So this work I've had an opportunity to impact the campus, and I personally believe if you can impact the campus, you can impact the world.
Yeah.
There's college campuses around this world, and these individuals, they're going to nations. And so in my work just in the past year, as I'm advising these young men, man, we started the call off with, hey, let's give kudos to this brother for X, Y, and Z. It's really, this work that I do around big leadership, it's around a mindset shift. And so I think that a lot of men don't do the things that Astra just spoke to because men don't have the vocabulary to do it. There's a thing that we all probably have sitting right here. We have what they call emotional intelligence. Well, that has to be cultivated,
Right.
and it's cultivated through language. So what I do, even with big leadership energy, one of the first things I do in my leadership training with individuals, let's assess your lexicon. You ask me like, what is that word I use, acquiesce.
Yeah.
Yeah. So leaders have to have a vocabulary, but for men to show love to one another is what you got to have the language. Because if you're from the streets, you like, did the streets tell you how to show love? Because maybe you just show love by saying, hey, you slap them up and you toss your head up. Maybe showing love is a nonverbal, but this world, we move through sound. And so you got to articulate what you mean. You got to say what you mean. Your yes got to be yes, your no got to be no. And so for men, the young men that I work with, man, I teach them how to speak what you think and think higher thoughts. And let's give you a vocabulary. What's your vocabulary? Do you know how to say kudos? Do you know how to say great job? Do you know how to express gratitude? Men need language.
It's that whole iron sharpening iron affirmation. Men need language. That's good. That's good. Anybody else?
No, I think the only thing what Demetrius said and what Astra said, I saw a clip. I don't like giving people a prop, but I think I saw it from Dr. Umar, and I ain't believe it, where we have competition issues.
Oh yeah.
And he says from the plantation. Cause remember growing up in a middle class home where you around the box, I didn't know people compete. From your podcast and what people do, it's like us as black people, instead of us congratulating somebody on their success, we get mad or we feel like I ain't made it yet. I ain't made it, I'm mad at you. I told Demetrius when he got his grant, I was playing with him, but I was happy for him.
Right.
Because what he can do, we all can't save all the kids.
That's true.
But what we can do is each one of us can reach them at a time. But the thing that I've seen the most is that we have an issue of not working together. And because of competition. And so I applaud people who actually collaborate more than individuals. And I hope that with men, I don't know how it is with women or with other races, but I've seen with us, this is what I've seen over the past 11 years, is the competition. Why not congratulate? If I see him do something successful, why not congratulate him and say, you know what, congratulations. Instead of saying, getting jealous. I've never understood why people get jealous of each other's success. I applaud, hold on just a second, please. I applaud everybody who does. And I think if we all have that in us, because my dad always told me, you never get jealous of anybody's success. My mom trained me, you never get jealous. And that I applaud people who's trying to come together and say, you know what, let's collaborate, let's do this. I think we can reach more if we do something together than individuals. So that's what I hope for. When you look at manhood, when you look at men trying to really make a difference, is never get jealous of anybody's success. I applaud anybody who wants to do something positive to help. Because at the end of the day, we all are servants here to what? Help people. That's what we're here on earth for. What else we're here on earth to do? Take care of our families. I think we all are doing that as men. We all take care of our families. I have a wife and 2 kids. I'm doing this full time. I'm working hard and I tell people I'm doing this so I can feed my family. That's the first thing people do.
Kids too.
Yeah, and you know, the mentorship, that's just part of my job. That's servant.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I love seeing people successful. I love it. I love it because I said, God, you still in the blessing business. So if I see Demetrius get something, if I see Ashley do something, I haven't seen you in a long time, but when I see it, first I say, all right, God, you still in the blessing business. But that's me. Everybody don't think that way, but that's me. But I know Aaron had to say something.
Do you want to comment on something?
I just wanted to speak to the jealousy piece because I'm a practitioner. You got historians, people who I read so much, and then I go out here and I live it. And when I think about jealousy, because I recognize, there's this thing, everybody's talking about collaboration over competition. Nicely said, it's a cute statement to me. Let me it's a beautiful statement. Can you live it? Can you practice it? So jealousy is a real thing. You talked about jealousy. Men deal with jealousy for real. My wife and I talk about this all the time.
Sometimes worse than women.
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. To me, it's not about men or women. We're human. Jealousy is a feeling. It's an emotion. It's real. It's human nature to be jealous. Now the question is, what do you do with it? My faith reminds me to take thoughts captive. So if you are feeling jealous, you got to ask yourself, men. So this is a practice for self. I'm jealous of him. Why am I jealous of him? Do I see something in him that I don't see in myself? Can I work toward the thing that I see in them that I want to see in me? Yes, I can. Okay. Well, am I still jealous? No. I've addressed the issue. Guess what? Now, you know what I just made room for? Gratitude. Now let me go out here and tell this man congratulations.
Yeah.
Because jealousy tried to rob. Jealousy ain't really doing nothing but robbing you of you being you.
That's true.
Because he did it when we got to check the things back in April. First thing Demetrius said, man, can I get a picture with you? Congratulations, man. I didn't know Demetrius was going to even be there, but when I got the check presentation, they gave us the dummy check. He touched my heart a whole lot when he said, Marcus, can I get a picture with you?
Have you ever dealt with that before?
I mean, just holding another brother's hands up again, when I got it, I didn't know the whole story behind getting
So have you ever been, you walk in, we in the community, I'm gonna be honest, I ain't gonna say names, but have you ever been in a room and it's an ism and schism with another brother? I ain't done nothing to you.
despise crap.
Oh, yes. The answer is yes.
How do you deal
In
with
the
this?
same room. Listen, you feel the hate on social media.
It's the crab in the bucket.
The crab in the bucket.
I despise it because it's like, what Aaron was saying. When I see brothers doing great, and it's in all of us. The first thing because you're human, but then it's like, that's an issue with you to celebrate, my brother's keepers who doing some similar things, but it's like, hey, I have a running component. We all want our literacy. Literacy is a disease. Why it ain't getting better? So why pull him down? Why pull Marcus down? Why throw shade when we can come together and say you're doing a good job? And then how can I strengthen you? It takes courage. It takes faith for a man to say, you're even doing it better than me. How can I be part of the collaborative to help us at the end of the day help men become better? So
But it shouldn't even be about better. It shouldn't even be about being better. I think that everybody has a gift to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And so if Asher's going into schools reading with kids with books, if anybody's jealous of him, he should say, what are you doing? What are you doing?
What's the rooted issue?
Yeah. So what are you doing? Because I've seen jealousy happen a whole lot. But we were just trained never to be that way. Because like I said, when my younger brother and sister was in college, and they're getting their degrees. I'm struggling in college. I was never jealous of my brother and sister. I just wanted to do what they were doing.
Right.
So I did what you said. I asked, how do I get to the next level? How do I do it? And my sister said, go to class. Right. Go to class and do your homework.
Right.
So that's what I did. And I finished school, and then I tell people all the time, I tell you in my bio, don't read what I went to college for. It don't mean nothing. It don't mean nothing if I went to college and I didn't help nobody else.
Right.
It means nothing. And I tell people all the time, don't read all that in my bio. I went to Tennessee State, I went to Jamaica, so what? If I help somebody else who was hungry,
Right.
if I clothe somebody, and that's what Dr. King said in his eulogy. He said in his eulogy, don't mention I have a Nobel Peace Prize. He said, mention that I clothe the naked. I've done this to help people. And that's what I told my wife. I said, when I die, don't read nothing. Don't put none of the obituary I went to college at. Who cares? Who cares I went to Tennessee State? What does it matter? I know I love Tennessee State. I'm an alumni. But at the end of the day, I want God to say, who did I serve? Who did I help? End of the day. But I applaud anybody. You get your doctors, congratulations.
Thank you.
Turn up.
Hey,
Dr. So-and-so.
Hey.
Because everybody can't do that.
Everybody can't do it.
You know, and I would say this, because my mom got her doctors, and he triggered me. He said, you gonna do it? So God didn't tell me to go do it. I'm not gonna go do it just to say I'm Dr. Manise. I care less about that. Because if I did a doctor, nobody would know. And Jim Brown said that in his documentary. He said, I've helped so many people, y'all wouldn't even know. He said, because I don't need to be validated.
And so do you think jealousy comes from a lack of validation?
I think jealousy comes from a lot of ways, but I also think back to just as a transparent story. I think there's been times that I've been in situations that I've come across and been jealousy may be the terminology. I've been like, man, why didn't I get that? So I'm gonna say jealous. There have definitely been times. And this is a teaching moment for young people, for other men. There's definitely been times throughout my careers that I guess you can say that I've been jealous or been envious. And I say, man, why didn't I achieve that? I've done these things, and it stems back to some lessons learned as a child and lessons that we've all been taught as black men, as black people. Man, you got to be better than them. You got to make certain that you got to work twice as hard. You got to do these things to achieve not only in our community, but against others that aren't black, right? So you take that into the work that we're leading now or in different spaces over time, and you're like, man, he got the grant or he got the accolades, but man, I worked just as hard. Why didn't I get them? So then, as Aaron said, I got to take a step back. Like, why does the validation from an outside entity, an outside organization mean that much to me, right? What am I dealing with internally, as was said earlier, that is causing me to want that validation? What does it mean? And sometimes it's not just validate me to show that I'm good, but like my hard work is paying off, right? So I think jealousy is one mode, but I think we always have to deconstruct the ideologies, the theologies that we were taught as children that continue in us today. Sometimes we have to build and destroy those and start our own understanding of the theologies, particularly from a church lens. And I'm talking about religion versus spirituality. The church lens that many of us maybe have grown up in, that has given us the dogma of the things that we believe that really don't settle with the human nature. Right? And I think the jealousy piece, we have to continue to grow and evolve as individuals to know that there's plenty of space out here for everybody to be successful. And when I get locked into jealousy from one man, from one organization, for one grant, I'm not doing myself the service.
And the other person don't even know that you're jealous of them. They don't have why you don't even,
also
you're not even speaking to me.
But you blocking your blessing.
Yeah.
You blocking your blessing.
Yeah.
And so when you are jealous, you'll put, and then you ask, I'll never ask myself, now, if I don't get a grant, I say, okay, God, just wasn't your will. And I move on. I don't, like I said, he got a grant right before me. A lot of money, way more than I did. But I was proud of him. I was proud of him. And I told you that. We've always talked a whole bunch of times. But that's when God starts blocking your blessings. So when I see somebody being blessed, I always pray for them. How many times are we praying for our brothers to be successful? Because the work that we're doing, even youth development, mentorship, all that stuff, it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
So the self-care he said was right. I will say this, and I'll be quiet. The self-care he said was right. I used to never do self-care. I'm gonna grind. I had it in me. I'm gonna grind. And somebody was like, "Oh, you ever had a sabbatical?" I don't need no sabbatical. We grind. So I told him, we grind. We don't need no sabbatical. And then because, let me tell you why it was in me. My father hardly ever took vacations growing up. I only can remember 2 growing up. So my mentality was grind. My wife, where we going? Whenever you want to go, but I'm gonna grind till we get there, you know. So that was a mentality from my father. But I understand people do need rest. I see people say sabbaticals. I still ain't with that. Cause my buddy told me, man, I want you to. I tell you, he's like, man, I want you to go to a cabin, man. You need to go to a cabin and just you and God. And I'm like, dude, I can't sit there and be by myself that long. I got to keep working. So But I do believe in vacations. I used to take mine right before school starts. We take a week. Me and my wife, we take a week, and then we travel. We go places on Saturday, Sunday, all that. That's fine. But I think the biggest thing for all of us, take rest, which I agree with. I was supposed to take rest these 2 weeks during this Christmas break. I'm gonna be right at work tomorrow. I'm gonna rest New Year's Day.
Okay.
The next day, lined up, going to meetings, work, go work. That's just because that's what my dad put in me. But I think the end of the day, when you look at all of us in manhood, the goals to the next level, we all have to help and serve and help each other. And I think everybody needs a great accountability partner. Somebody, I got a buddy of mine, close friend of mine I met over a year ago. And this guy calls me at least once a week, be sure I'm doing okay. He said, forget about the work, Mark. Don't tell me about the work. How you doing?
That's it.
Man,
That's it.
you don't know how much, I told that guy, you don't know how much you saved my life
That's it.
by calling me once a week. And because I don't call nobody. That's just who I am. I work so, my mind's working. But he helped me start calling him. Man, what you doing, big brother? And he's younger than me, but I call him my big brother. Because that taught me a whole lot about what you said. When you said, you be accountable, help somebody. And so learning from you, even when you said, man, what's wrong with that dude? He didn't know me. But like I said, me and him got a chance to talk, to learn each other. Because I didn't know you didn't grow up without a father. I didn't know that. And so that's the thing that even I got to work on. Because I get in this work mode, man. I get in this mode where I'm here to grind. I'm here to grind. If you ain't grinding, I don't want to talk to you.
Right.
That's just who I am. But I want to change to be somebody that's more understanding to what you may need. Because you could have been going through hell and back water today. And if I could say, brother, it's going to be all right. You don't know how much it helps somebody.
Yeah, you know.
And so that's what you do. But I'll be quiet. It's your show, man.
No. He's paying me back. That's what it is.
I'm paying you back
He
what
paid
you
me
did
back.
last Saturday. Yeah, I told you I was going to get you.
You sure did. But what's so funny is that we had a great prominent leader in our community. They end up with mental illness, committed suicide. On social media, he's all this, he was all that. But inside, he was dying. It'll kill me that I'm building relationships and you're so prideful that you don't even want to talk about it. I don't never want it to happen. If I'm struggling, I call Aaron. D, I ain't doing well. D will call me, hey, Sneed, we need to chop it up. Because we don't have to be super.
He threw Aaron out. Say, Aaron ain't calling you, Aaron.
No, we have because we're not built to be really superheroes.
Vulnerability.
And creating a space where we can be. That's all I'm saying. I think that's the problem with the brothers. We don't create enough safe space for me to be vulnerable. So my business won't be on social media. I'm not talking about being vulnerable to your wife. That's a good place too. But I'm talking about being vulnerable to another brother that can relate and to understand. That you don't have to walk this walk by yourself.
Well, just find somebody. Like I said, everybody need a good accountability partner. If you get one good one, because it's hard to find a good friend.
No, you have to refuse.
I will tell you that. Hard to find a good friend, but if you can find that one person that's got your back,
yeah,
and you can tell all kind of business too, man, that's a jewel. I'm telling you, I didn't realize that till this year.
Oh man, I
was going through some major stuff, and I called my buddy. He was like, "Well, let me make some calls. I'm gonna make sure you good," because he cared more about me and my family more than my business, and that meant the world to me. So I think we all do that. Like I said, I've been knowing Demetrius for a while, and like I said, I follow him. We chat from time to time, and I tell him all the time. I say, "But you need to have your black run, or it's not on our mentor session, so we can go out there and run with you." But every time I see him do that, I said, "Man, he's making a difference. He's making a difference in children's lives that he don't have to do." At the end of the day, we don't have to do none of the stuff we're doing. I don't have to do what I'm doing because God gives us the power of choice. But it's because of the love.
Right.
And like I said, when I see people who are out here changing people's lives, because you don't have to do it, that means the world to me when I see it.
Does everybody have that? Do you have accountability partner?
So this is what I tell my team in metro schools and outside. So I have several partners and I'm expanding. I call it the wheel of assets.
Okay,
right?
I love it.
So, there's a person I call that if I want strategic advice, like we're going to talk strategy about how I can get there. DY is one of those folks, right? He's my executive coach, right? There's a person I call, there's a person we all need that I don't want no advice. I don't want no feedback. I'm just calling to get this off, man. They at work, they getting on my nerves. My boss is telling me this. They not listening to me. I'm frustrated. And I don't need them to say, well, here's what you should do. Man, you've been talking for 10 minutes and they're going to keep going until I get it. I can be done and be like, thanks for listening, man. I need multiple people in my corner that I can call for a variety of different things.
Exactly.
But they all got to serve that purpose.
Right.
They can't dip into the other
lanes.
purposes.
Right.
You are my vent person. You are my strategy person. You are my big idea person.
Okay.
You are my spiritual person.
Okay.
Everybody got to have those different components to make them whole, but you got to have those outlets and releases. Think about what Marcus said, and I go back to no matter what faith walk you in, you think about Yahweh, you think about Confucius, you think about Buddha. If they had to take time away in the wilderness to recuperate, to pray, to vision, and then come back, why do we think we don't need that same type of space? Right. So I try to find my way, and it's difficult with 2 kids and trying to make sure I'm taking care of their needs, my wife. But I have to find, that's why I get up at 4:30 in the morning to go to the gym, or I get up and go burn my incense so I can have complete silence and hear from other stuff that's going on before I start my day, man. But
You have to have it.
you have to, but you got to have people in those different areas that you can call and get those things that you need. And men, it's okay. And I'm going to say, D. Wiseman, the word is not selfish, but it's okay to be intentional about your needs at times.
Absolutely.
And stand on that.
Absolutely.
Like I'm selfish where I want to talk to somebody to vent to.
Yeah.
My wife is, me and her not clicking right now. I got to go talk to my spiritual advisor to help get me back on track, right? I need some strategy because I got to go to those people at different points in time to get what I need, right? And then hopefully there'll be times where somebody uses me as that person that they need to pour into for whatever they need me for. And I got to recognize this is what they need me for at this time. Let me stay there in that space.
I want to double down on what you're saying. I like you called it your wheel of assets, and in the training that I do, I call it, before I do any training, any further training with individuals, a couple of things that I do, but there's a setup point. You know, my work is about self-efficacy and self-advocacy, and if a man is moving forward and has not properly established his social support system, you know, when I do the leadership coaching, I give them a little template. Hey, if I'm your leadership coach, I'm already on your social support system. You married, you got a spouse, you got a partner, they're on your social support system. Is there anybody else you can put down? See, when you really think about manhood and how we are designed, man, we're creatures of habit. We actually like structure. You know, we know how we are outside of chaos. So manhood requires a framework as well. And so I know you reference, you know, this prominent pillar in the community, and we wonder, well, how? Well, I will beg the question, the question for me is, was he's able to lean on his social support system? And the reality is, no matter what height you are in this world, no matter what's your economic status, we're human. We all have the same things that we're wrestling with. So for me, it's about, hey, do you have the speed dial number? Can you, all those things that Ashford just mentioned is so essential. But most importantly, for me, I try to teach people that at a young age. Imagine a teenager learning, a young man who hadn't even transitioned to manhood, realizing that, hey, in order for me to survive in this world, I got to have a social support system. Somebody got to know where I am. I'm going to say this. My pastor, he had this analogy. We did this manhood series. And so men don't always have the language to communicate where they are. But, you know, in my faith, we say, you got to know if the darkness is around you. And I got to be able to look at you and say, hey, brother Sneed, the darkness is around me.
Gotcha.
That may mean that, hey, I'm at work and, she's slowly becoming my work wife, you know. And then I got to know if the darkness is upon me. That means I'm at work. Hey, bro, she bringing me food and ask me for a ride home.
Right.
And then sometimes you got to be able to tell your brother, hey, the darkness is in me. And you know what we being if the darkness is in me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't laid up.
Yeah, we're laid up.
You know what I'm saying?
In
And
the
so
office.
yeah, and so but to get to that, man, I think it's important for men to have language, man. I think men fail in this world because they lack the communication skills to articulate their inner dialogue. Men sit around and listen to their thoughts all day, and they govern themselves based off. They sit up in that little cottage. We got a little cottage in our head. Some of us got a penthouse up there.
Right.
You know, it's voices talking to us all day, and we govern our whole world like that.
We don't even speak to each other.
No.
Strangers, we don't even, I know black, we just look at each other. Back in the day, used to be,
Hey,
Don't even
but
get
guess
no more.
what? But we looking at each other, ain't speaking to each other, and I had a whole conversation about you in that little cottage up there.
Yeah.
Man, you gotta come out. You gotta live out here.
Right.
You gotta live outside.
Let me ask y'all this. So, all y'all, I don't have kids, but we all been married for a minute. So, what do you tell the young husband, the young father?
Don't let that darkness get you. That's what you tell him.
Hey, yeah.
Don't let that darkness get you.
For sure.
He told you exactly right
Yeah.
about them inner thoughts
Yeah.
and that darkness.
Yeah.
Because that stuff, man, he's because a lot of times what I felt is that I have them inner thoughts. Well, I know what I'm gonna tell my wife. I know what I'm gonna tell her to my
What you do with
head.
the thoughts?
I think that's you can't stop that. That's one
No,
thing you can't
no,
stop.
no, I
You
get
can't
it.
stop inner thoughts.
The unhealthy inner thoughts.
Yeah, you
Let me
can
say it that way.
No, you gotta decide if you're gonna go that route, it's gonna be a consequence. That's all it is.
Right.
You go that route, you like, oh, it's my inner thought. And if I go this route, some people don't think about consequences. We don't think about the consequences.
Right.
Because the thought's gonna be there. You're gonna see a beautiful woman walk by, you're gonna have a beautiful woman gonna compliment you.
Right. Right.
And you just say thank you and you move on.
What
But
cause
if you say, oh, well, what you like about my shoes? You go into that dark place.
Yeah, especially when
You go into the
I just
dark.
got to argue with my wife,
No,
right?
I just say I appreciate it. That's
Yeah.
all I'll tell you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, you got this on? Appreciate it. You smell good today. Good. You ended with one word. But if you taking any other place over that word, what he just said, you go into that dark place. Because
What made you stay 23 years being married?
she don't get on my nerves. That's the only thing. She don't get on my nerves. She don't come home like now. I've been gone all day today. Not one call. Let me be free. You got a location. You know exactly where I'm at. If you don't, just call me.
Why you think?
But let me tell you this. And one thing, if you got a wife that trusts you, that's very key.
Yeah.
I had to go out of town, out to Fort Lauderdale with one of my staff members, who's a female. And I was nervous to ask my wife, if you cool with me going, because it's a business trip. She was like, you ain't gonna do nothing. She was like, you ain't gonna do nothing, you too scared. That's what she said. She was blunt with me. But them inner thoughts, like, oh man, we can get hit. Them inner thoughts.
Right.
But then I look at the consequence. I said, God, if I go this route, I don't know what's gonna end. And it could mess up what we talked about on your podcast, your name.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping a good name take you so many places in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And one bad mistake can ruin your name.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's kept me and a wife that don't get on my nerves. And I'm not saying nerves in a bad way.
I get it. No, we get it.
Because I've watched people marriages. I watched them in the church and in the world. I'm an observer.
Right.
I be wondering how people move. And so I've seen wives go off on their husbands in public. And I'm like, I don't have that. I'm thankful.
Yeah.
I see women doing different things, mischievous. I don't have it. So, and marriage is an up and down business.
That's true.
Some days you're going to look at her, you can't stand it.
Right.
But if you got a good ride or die,
Yeah.
because you never know, and I'm going to
Good
say this
ride
to
or
be
die.
quiet, you never know if you get sick or you get hurt, who going to be there for you. My older brother, and I'm going to be quiet, was in a severe car accident in October. All he had was my mother. He was divorced. He ain't had no wife come check on him. I know if I was in a bad car accident right now, my wife would get up out that bed even though she ain't feeling well, she'd be like, make sure Mark's good. Can everybody say that?
That's true. 10 years in the game, boy.
Amen.
Amen. Not agree.
Hey,
Why you saying?
Hey, man. Well, I love my wife. She loves me.
It's on camera, so you know what to say.
Hey, no, I just text her that, you
Yeah,
know.
you sure, right.
Listen, and that don't mean that. Listen, we was shaking, chucking, and jiving before I got here.
Right.
Because that's marriage. Because we human.
Right.
We real. This life, marriage is communication in real time.
What
You know
season
what
are
I'm
you in
saying?
your marriage?
Man, growth season. You know, I've been married 10 years. I got a 7-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son. And I remind my wife every time, whenever we got a situation going on where we not seeing eye to eye, I say, hey, remember, hey, let's not act like this or normal. Remember, I'm working on a degree that causes a lot of stress. Remember, I'm transitioning in careers. Remember, hey, And like you slept for more than 3 hours last night, so you giving me your 3-hour attitude, and guess what? You getting my 6-hour attitude, and you know I don't like when my sleep disrupted. So I've been able to stay married because we deal with reality. We deal with life in real time. This ain't no fairy tale. We two individuals who are making conscious decisions every day to make it happen and to make it work. And most importantly, I believe in family. I believe in marriage. I'm thankful for my father and my mother for showing me. My parents have gone through so much. I'm the child of a 17-year-old mama and an 18-year-old daddy straight out of high school. I was sitting up in my mama's high school graduation like this.
My mom 15, daddy 16.
You understand? You know, my parents are running joke and said, we grew up together. So when you look at it like that, like I've seen a lot, man. And I've seen that, you know, you can go through anything in this world. But man, one thing Aaron McGee ain't gonna be doing is forsaking his family. Cause to your point, and you know why I married my wife, one of my mentors, I was dating all these girls outside of college, and I was like, I don't know, she said she think I'm her husband. So I was like, he said, well, this I want you to ask yourself, who do you see standing over your grave handling your affairs when you transition from this world? And I said, oh, I know the one. I know the one that my mama will be proud of too. And I'm still with I'm with my wife because my mama called me one day, she said, Aaron, Teresa, your girl. I said, hey, you know best, because you know my mama know how ugly I really am. You know what I'm saying? And my mama know women, and she knew that woman got the capacity and the interest to love and like me. And you know, I be out here serving, we be out here serving community all day. You know how ugly we are at home. You know that funky attitude come out at home.
That's right.
You know she smell our odor and see them stains.
Right.
Okay, so you got a woman, man. We got a woman that'll hold you down like that. You better shut up and do what you got to do.
And hold you down in the midst of career transition too.
Yeah, and love you genuinely too.
Genuinely.
And gently.
Right.
Genuinely and gently. So I just told my wife, I said, hey, I want to be with you for a lifetime. You know, that's a scary, bold thought. And most men, you know why I didn't want to get married? Same reason most men don't want to get married. They don't think that they have the courage to do it. And to be with one woman. Wow. But yeah, but it's very much so possible, and it's really a joy. And my wife, what we all should really be admitting, our wife is our greatest asset. That's at the end of the day. At the end of the day. And I don't mean that like a prop, like a tool, like she's there to be leveraged. That's a part of our wholeness and manhood. So, you know, I respect men who have even transitioned outside of marriage. I get it, because it takes a lot to be married. It truly does. And my heart goes out to them. That's why I don't deal in jealousy, because I said, hey, I don't know what's going on behind them closed doors. I ain't got no time for it, but I've been married for 10 years because I have a good woman and one that's worthwhile. My wife is so good that I be off and I be thinking, Aaron, you better step it up. You better mature. You better stop talking silly. You better go and read that word. You better go and pray. Maybe you need to go to the gym and come back home with a clear head. Right. I ain't about to be out here playing with these women. And guess what? I don't want no other man to have my woman.
Especially you done the work. You done all the investment. You done
that too, and she a good woman. Yeah. I found a good one.
You found a good one. I agree.
Yeah. I be thinking about it and I be like, man, I'll kick another joker straight in his nose.
Oh, wow. I got you. I got the bail money.
Okay.
I got your back. I got the bail money. Yeah.
I'm about to leave, man.
What about you, Ash? We've been in the game a long time, Ash. I'm up there with you.
Said no, I was next.
Right.
But yeah.
What have you learned so far being married this long?
Man, so one, my wife
in
and
this
I
season
were legit friends 20 years before we became married. We met at TSU freshman. We were friends like aces when I was dating other girls, and she was come over and she was like the friend of my girlfriends, like all of those things, right? So she's seen me at the pinnacle. She's seen me at the lowest of the lows, and she's been the same in all those cases, right? Mm-hmm. And our friendship blossomed to this marriage now with 2 kids. So where we are at this space right now is connecting beyond the superficial marriage. I see us now, we have been really connecting on reading and identifying our spirituality together. And I always see everything, and this way she loves me, because I see a lot of things through the lens of an Afrocentric point of view,
But-
right?
Right. So do y'all grow together, Ashford, or you do a growth spurt, she do a growth spurt, or y'all grow together? Because sometimes it goes in different.
I mean, I guess it just ebbs and flows. Like, we're humans,
Right,
right? So
right.
there's some times when I'm really digging into a certain thing and I'm like, why is she not seeing where I am? And there's some times when I'm not seeing where she is, right? But then again, we stay centered. And like Aaron said, man, I am a firm believer in family. I'm a firm believer in the Black family and the understanding of what that means. Man, woman, father, child, all those things, right? And the synergy around that. And she always brings us back to that. My wife is a chef by trade, too.
Upstairs.
So the way that she maneuvers and the way that food becomes the way a bonding spot for our family. We celebrate Kwanzaa. First day of Kwanzaa, we wrote family recipes. My wife went to the family recipes because my grandmama didn't really write nothing down. You know, she lived by the pinch.
Right.
Like, Mama, what's a pinch?
No.
How do you measure that,
Yeah.
right? So the food, her skills transforms our family into understanding our ways of knowing and our ways of being in the world. During this season, we are connecting, yes, because we're parents and we're trying to get this parenting thing right in a space that's unknown, but we're also thinking about how do we spiritually connect to each other,
That's my
right?
point.
And how do we make that connection to keep us whole,
I
to
love
keep
it.
us out of the dark spaces,
I love it.
right? But
I
knowing
love
when
it.
the dark spaces come,
I love it.
we can go and we can ground ourselves, like Grandmama said, we need to go in this prayer closet and be in spirituality with each other to come out on top.
That's a great question, segue. How do you maintain the intimacy when you have kids and community service and church and consciousness? How do y'all keep that intimate level?
I need advice
when
on that one.
You know, back in the day, you can hit it in the
Demetrius
back
can
seat.
finish that up.
I need Demetrius. I need the OG
Yeah,
advice. Come on,
yeah,
OG.
The OG, they still doing it in the
How many
backseat.
years
They
you
still
got?
doing the backseat of the Lexus. That's OG over there.
That's
They still
OG
getting it
over here,
in.
man.
Demetrius know how to keep it hot and
You got
spicy.
25, so you got two on me.
And he still be glowing.
Glowing,
Glowing,
right,
bro.
right.
Hey, man,
The power of Vanessa, boy.
a 20-year-old, 25 years. I saw an example of on YouTube, a pastor invited a family up and just said, "You all come up to the stage and just stand." And the father got up. The father had the son next to him, the daughter, then the mother. And then he said, "All right." And he said, "This is wrong." He said, "This is the issue." And it got quiet because they were going. He said, "God never intended for your children to get in between the husband and the wife, so that when they leave, you don't know who you are. You're aliens in your
Right,
own
you're
home."
right.
I've known my wife since 14, and 14, 18, 14, 17. We were friends turned lovers. Similar story. She knew all my girls. You know, my wife's my third. I didn't date. I didn't like dating because I saw all my friends' issues. And my father and mother always said, "Leave this to me. You be a young man. Don't lie." I told girls straight up, let's go out to eat, no strings attached. I didn't use that to come on. I was a virgin, star quarterback, athlete, just honest. Like, no, ain't no girl getting this. I flipped it. I'm like, nope, you got to get
And you wasn't
this.
ashamed of being a virgin.
And I wasn't ashamed. They didn't believe me. They did not believe me because what guy in the locker room?
You big
I'm
meat.
like, no, man, I'm big meats. Like, no, I'm good. Quarterback, no, yeah, right. The Mississippi knows I always say girls around me. I had teachers hitting on me. I was the most popular guy in school and had that influence that I could have negatively used. But man, I kept myself all through middle school, high school. Like, I said, God, I ain't lying. They didn't believe me. They couldn't equivocate a black, decent-looking guy with all this power, all this athleticism, all this influence, that he ain't knocking these girls up, he ain't doing this. My dad instilled in me. Now, it ain't that I didn't try. Trust me, I'm all man.
Right.
Boy, after them games, I'm trying to get on. It ain't sexy when you see your dad's face and then you see God. That kills a mood real quick.
Right.
When you in the van about to get behind this room
Right.
and get your little swerve on with this girl, but I had the fear of God. I truly said, I know I love God because I had the opportunity. Nobody around. It's what you do when nobody's around,
Yeah.
you know. And when you have the opportunity, the girl is ready. I mean, they was coming on to me. I mean, I didn't have to do much. It was reversal. It was my sister said they trying to find out who can get you.
Right.
You have a bounty on your head. She would tell me you got a bounty on your. Girls
They
just as
aggressive.
nasty, man. They just
Oh,
as
they be
nasty.
aggressive, yeah.
Just as frivolous, man.
Yeah,
Come
that's
on.
true.
Hey, my sister's like, D, they like, I'm gonna get them. And so, you get in those provocative things, I'm only gonna get so deep, I'm sitting there, in the back, and she and it would hit me. I would see my dad's face flash. I would see the disappointment when it all went the wrong way. Wow, Demetrius had a child, and the shame of God, the shame of my family, and that's what made me just lock up. Like, I can't do this. I wasn't perfect. I got in as deep as I could get without having sex all through those years. And I look back now like, man, I should have been just going crazy, but I kept myself. I met my wife. I was bold about it because I gave hope to the underdog in school, the nerd, or the guy that wasn't so popular. If Demetrius can be loud like that, then it gave them hope. Like, wow, a popular guy don't have to be out here just going crazy and doing that. So I took pride, and that developed me as a leader, that you can make it. So many of my guys came to me privately like, Demetrius, I was embarrassed, man, but for you to be the homecoming king and that's powerful, and athletic and all that. So I met my wife. She knew all my friends. She knew who I was. And one day I was like, God was like, why keep dating her, or why keep her as a friend when friends turn lovers? When you roll over and you look at your friend, what better narrative can you have to start? 50% of marriages still in divorce, but what better narrative? What alley-oop is Chris Paul throwing, or Dwayne Wade throwing to LeBron for your marriage's sake and longevity, if the common denominator at minimum is, that's my daggone friend? That right there alone gives you incentive and gives you a little leg up, because friends go through tough times. It's a fight. We were long distance, Louisville, Cincinnati. I had the struggle of, hey, she ain't here, I can do whatever. Her the same thing. We still kept each other close, got married, 25 years a day, a 20-year-old daughter. All these other things become distractions to make the woman not feel like she's the one. My wife doesn't need constant this or that. She's been so supportive. If I didn't have her, I would have been divorced year one. Because I've always been a person who was trustworthy around other females. Majority of my friends were females, and my wife has never, ever went through my phone, text me where you at. We had a shoe store downtown Greensboro. I did Fantasia shoes, and we had a real popular shoe store in the corner right in North Carolina A&T. And I would open that store up at midnight because all the clubs are right there. My black friends would come to the store, and we would sit just like this in the middle of my store at 1 a.m. And those guys would say, Demetrius, I mean, banging girls coming through. Some of them drunk, hey, what's up? Flashing us and everything. And I sat there, and one guy said, and this is where God convicted me about why your light got to shine. He said, your wife ain't called your phone one time. She trusts you that much? I said, yes, she does. And she ain't gonna call. Your wife they calling me. Is he with you? No, sir. Yep. Click, all right, we good. That's power. When another man's wife call you to validate that if he's with you, then I can go to sleep at 1 a.m. because I know Demetrius is gonna position him. And we good looking. I mean, we good. These girls coming through. So you have to take pride in that. You have to honor that. It comes with a lot of weight. The pressure of LeBron, right? One slip. The President Obama, to go to the White House, not one mistress, not one this. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. 8 years in the biggest house, and to at least come out with, we don't have all these extramarital affairs and this and that.
Right.
So the intimacy, how you keep romancing them, how you got them, is how you got to keep them. Yeah. My dad said, if you got to sleep back, his last words, he walked us all down the aisle. He would kiss us on the cheek and he would say, I don't care if you got to sleep back to back with knives in both of y'all hands.
Both hands.
He said, don't leave your marriage. You fighting, you sitting elbow in it. I don't like you. He said, don't let anything interfere with that. And nonprofit work, saving everybody else's kids to be able to come home. Took my wife on a 17-day vacation to Barcelona, Italy, 9 different countries in 17 days. She don't ask for much. I truly, and she'll look at me and she'll be like, I don't ask for much. And my surrender is, and she always said, I want to give my wife the world. My wife corrected me. She said, I don't want the world. I just want your time.
That's it.
I want you off the phone. She
That's the main thing.
She took
That's
my
the
thing
number one love language.
and came out of this just when you come to dinner, put the daggone phone down. Let it go. Give us your attention. Give us that. So I don't want the world. I just want this 25 years to go. Love your daughter, help her through some things I have not done. I mean, I'm not perfect. I have not. My wife, when I mean to tell you, she's been a great supporter. She has shared so much. To be here all day today, phone ain't ringing. Do your thing. Just but when we have it, the time together to be intimate, to look at each other, to plan this life, we call it short ink. It is, how can I position you to be the best? And how can you position me to be the best? And how can we both win together to make us the best version of each other for each other and our legacy.
25 years, ladies and gentlemen.
This is the last thing I just want to say before we leave out. With all this said, if the young people or a young married man doesn't hear anything that I say, this is the most important thing I'm going to say. Don't let anybody come between your marriage, meaning don't be taking advice, whether it's your mama, your daddy, your cousin, your uncle. Don't let anybody drive a wedge in your marriage based off of their concept of what your marriage should be, what it should look like. Yes, you have those family members that, want to offer you advice. Don't let them folks drive a fork through your marriage based off of their perception of what it should and shouldn't look like. Don't do that. I'm telling you, we love our family. We love our friends. Your situation is your situation, and you got to work that out. Don't let these folks drive a wedge through your marriage based off of their interpretation.
That's right. So real quick, we're going to wrap this up. Final affirmation of manhood. Final thought, manhood.
Manhood is a journey. Manhood is a state of consciousness that, again, the measure of a man is the distance between his words and his actions. The measure of a man is the distance between his words and his actions. That is a lived daily consciousness that you have to continue to be intentional about working on.
I think manhood is about rejecting passivity, accepting responsibility, investing internally or eternally, meaning, that mentorship. I'll leave it there. My manhood is, I aim for my manhood to be in a biblical definition of manhood. I think there's a lot of manhood frameworks out here that are distorted, but I would rather have my manhood identity be found in something that's assured.
I think the last thing for manhood for me is keep a good name. If you can keep a good name, so when you're on your deathbed or when you're at your funeral, can people say good things about you? That you was able to do good work, or they're gonna say bad things about you. So I would say keep a good name. Is my old advice about manhood. You guys already said it all, so there's no need of repeating. But I would just say for any man, keep a good name, because your children will always remember everything you've done. I'm 48 and I can still remember things of my mom and my dad has done in life to train me, the whoopings and the discipline that I received. I can still remember that now. But just say if I was a kid, could remember dad beating mama, or I could say, well, dad did this or dad did that. But I have nothing but the ultimate respect for my father. And when you asked me to do your podcast, I said, that's the king. He's my role model. I got great mentors. I only really had 3 mentors in my whole life. One's passed away, one's still living. But they all told me keep a good name. Just keep a good name.
Neat. Close it with just perseverance, endurance. I always said it takes courage. Men have to be courageous. when you're normalizing issues and things in your life that are not comfortable. But we've come through a lot, with slavery and men abusing us in front of our wives and our kids to desensitize us and not let us be powerful. So we've overcome a lot. But my manhood, man, is that we've come a long way. I'm 30 years in software testing, and my job is to test bugs. There's no perfect code. You should pick up your phone every day, right? There's a new download, that's a bug. They literally found something in your iPhone, in your computer, in whatever technology you have, but they version control it. They fix it, they test it behind the scenes, they spit it out and produce a new download for you to download to your phone and overcome those bugs. That's symbolic of our lives. Ups, downs, ins and outs. I just challenge you to be ready for when your number is called, that the best version of you that God can create and that the world can benefit from is you before you close your eyes.
That's amazing.
Be that type of man.
Wow. Well, brothers, let me tell you something. Y'all have really made my day to day. When I look at, look at you, Marcus and Aaron and Ashford and you, Demetrius. To me, y'all the epitome of what manhood looks like. I've always had a deep appreciation. When I know we don't talk all the time, we don't come together all the time, but I've been watching you all for a long time. And the fact that you said yes to this project, and the fact that y'all say, okay, Sneed, we're going with you all the way. I gratefully appreciate it, because y'all been in the game a long time. This is all new for me coming on the scene. So again, I want to say thank y'all for your wisdom. Thank you for your courage. And for those who are watching, thank you so much for tuning in to My Manhood Matters with Charles Sneed. Remember, real men, real times, real journeys. One man's testimony could be your deliverance. See you soon.
My manhood matters.
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 Friends, if you like what you're hearing
And what you're seeing,
I encourage you to subscribe.
My Manhood Matters.
My Manhood Matters.
My Manhood Matters on YouTube and our social media platforms to continue to understand and learn why your leadership and your manhood matters.